It's a dark, dark room, and my eyes are glued on everything in the room. The tables are turned upside down. I see the cups lying everywhere on the floor, and then all of a sudden from the corner, I see someone approaching. Well, I don't really see his face, I see the shadow, and I'm thinking, who is behind the shadow? My name is Amon Munyaneza. As the shadow approaches, I'm thinking in my mind, who is behind the shadow? What's going to happen to the room? And then all of a sudden, for the first time since I was staring at the room, I see this girl in the corner seated. She has her legs folded and her arms around her chest. And this guy is approaching, is coming towards her. And then all of a sudden, the shadow disappears and I see the man, but I don't actually see his face. And he moves towards the girl, and the girl starts to cry. And this movie was so captivating, and it was so real that for a few seconds I thought actually it was happening in real life. But the thing is that movies are made to be like that. Movies are made to captivate us, to make us think that everything that is being acted is actually real. And fear does the same thing. Fear is like acting. You see, fear and acting have a lot in common. When you are watching a movie, everything feels real. The shadow approaching from the corner and the sound behind the screen, everything feels so real. And a lot of times when we are watching movies, we feel like we are actually living real life. That is why sometimes we watch movies and cry and our hearts jump. It's because we think we are actually living real life, but it's actually a movie, it's acting. And fear is like that. Fear creates a sense of reality. Fear does some mind trick around our brains, and it creates a false sense of reality. And when we are living in fear, sometimes our bodies actually think they are living reality. That's why sometimes when people fear, they lose weight, they lose sleep. It's because the fear that is happening in their body is actually creating chemical reactions in their bodies, and the body thinks that the fear that is happening is actually real. Paul writes in Philippians chapter 4 verse 6, and he says, "Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God." Paul is writing about anxiety, about being fearful, about worrying, because he knows that we as human beings have a tendency of making fear the main thing instead of making God the main thing. So Paul says that let your requests be known to God. Don't be anxious. Don't allow yourself to get in a place where you are captivated, where you are in the bondage of fear. I don't know what you're fearing today. Maybe something in your life is not going the way you expected it. And now all of a sudden you think that everything is going to fall apart. So you are afraid, but it's time that you start naming your fears. It's time that you start realizing that what is happening in you is actually a movie. Someone says that fear stands for false evidence appearing real. I have said that somewhere before in one of my conversations. And this is very true. Fear is false evidence. It's a movie. It's a movie that is being played in your mind, and it sounds so real that you start acting on the fear of the things that haven't even actually happened. And a lot of the things that you fear may never happen. So today, I want to encourage you to start naming your fears. Start naming the movies. Let's name them. The fear of money, that's a movie, that's a show. It's a reality show. It's not true, it's not gonna happen. The fear of death. Well, you've been fearing death for the last 20 years and you haven't died yet, or have you? The fear of poverty. You've been fearing poverty forever, but it hasn't happened yet. You still have money, you still have a place to sleep. So you see, the movies that have been playing in your mind ever since you started fearing all these things haven't actually come true. You know why? Because they are movies. They're not real. Fear is not real. I want to encourage you today to go out and face your fears. Look fear in the face and say, I know you are a movie. I know you are not real. I know you're not going to happen.